Last video we talked about the beginning of the console wars between the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, and the result turned out pretty interesting. But in this episode we will be digging into the true original spark of the console wars, the one where people truly debated online to which one was superior. This would be the introduction to the PlayStation 3 versus the Xbox 360. Now, before we go into the details on both of these consoles, let me know in the comments below on what you think should win and why. Other than that, let's get debating. Starting out, we have the machine that had the very scary red color, but was also the last console to give us something really personal, something that no other console really did. That's right gamers, today we are starting with the highly talked about Xbox 360, a console that fully shut down in the year 2024. Released on November 22, 2005, this would be Xbox's second console in the gaming world. This version of the Xbox would feature a sleek new design, wireless controllers, an amazing dashboard, and much more. They would also introduce us to some of the most memorable and still highly talked about games that were exclusive to the machine. Left 4 Dead, a game developed by Valve Corporation, yes, the one that made Steam on PC. This game focused on a 4-player cooperative zombies aspect. Left 4 Dead had a dynamic that changed enemy spawns and item locations for endless replayability. This game started on the Xbox and made Left 4 Dead 2 a year later, selling more than 12 million units combined by October 2012. This is not including the PC version. Next on the list we have Gears of War. Released in November 2006, it helped popularize the cover-based shooter genre, and was one of the first games to heavily showcase Xbox's 360's graphical power. This game introduced the iconic Lancer rifle, an assault rifle with a chainsaw attached. This was one of Xbox 360's most important exclusives during its early years. They ended up making the second game 2 years later and sold 2 million copies within the very first month. Then we got Halo 3, the next game to the main franchises of Xbox's life. Halo 3 was released on September 25, 2007, and it sold over $170 million worth of copies in its first 24 hours. Halo 3 also introduced the Forge map editor, allowing players to create and customize game modes and Halo maps. Now, even though Xbox had an amazing lineup of games exclusive to that console, its personal experience to the console really sold itself to the average gamer. Starting this off, the Xbox 360's initial price sold at a mere $300, or you can spend $400 for its upgraded version that included some wireless controllers and a 20GB hard drive. These prices made the console more affordable than its competitor. The extra money helps putting it towards some attachments or add-ons you may need for your 360, like the Wi-Fi adapter. Well, this was only needed if you owned one of the older editions. Yes, you heard me, the older editions of the 360s did have a few drawbacks compared to its slim version, like no Wi-Fi adapter or an extremely small storage. Or you may have needed the extra power adapter to play the Xbox Kinect. But not everything was bad about the older 360, because one thing the older 360 helped with was the changing of the internal memory. It was a simple slide and swap. Now going back to the perks of the 360, it introduced gamers to the fun side of party chats and achievements. The 360 did something that all other variants of the Xbox didn't do anymore: forced game chat. So say you were playing a game of Call of Duty Black Ops and decided to play a particular game mode like Search and Destroy. You can't use party chat anymore. You would have to communicate with your team to win the objective. They kinda stopped doing this in the later years of the Xbox, but I think they should do that again with all communication-based ranked games. Well, more as a separate lobby section. Now, I also just mentioned Xbox introduced the Gamer Score, or also known as achievements. The addition added reasons for gamers to explore what a game had to offer, and it also gave benefits to players who like to play solo games. Now, you remember in the beginning how I said Xbox 360 had something super personalized that we don't have anymore? Well, I was talking about the avatar creation. Instead of just saying a basic profile photo from just some simple selection, you get a full 3D animated avatar that you can earn cosmetics for when playing your games. Then when others look at your profile, they can also see that in great detail. Continuing on, Xbox had backwards compatibility, so instead of buying a new copy of the game you just bought on last gen, you were able to just grab your old disc, throw it in, and boot it up. Lastly, the Xbox had the Kinect, and an amazing device that integrated a new type of gaming, and it was kind of also a trolling device. You used your body for new style of games, and also Xbox users used it to gain advantage in video games. Now we just got done talking about the best of the 360, but now we need to talk about what really broke of some of that 360 flair. First was you needed to pay for a subscription to play online. Compared to the PlayStation, the Xbox subscription was about $7 to $10 a month, or about $50 to $60 yearly just to play online. Just remember though, Game Pass wasn't the thing at the time, and this was all still new. But with this cost, I can say the experience that the 360 ran online was better than the connection to the PS3. And the only other bad thing about the 360 was the infamous Red Ring of Death, a phrase that scared a lot of Xbox owners, because it was believed that when it happens, your Xbox just becomes unusable. The amount of units was never confirmed, but it was estimated to be about 11 to 15 million consoles affected. Moving over to the competition, we have the Sony's PlayStation 3, a console that as of 2026 is still online and running. But we ain't talking about that. We're talking about the release years. November 17th, 2006, about 7 years after the release of the popular Sony's PS2. Sony had some big shoes to fill after the recent success of their previous console. But when they announced the next big console at E3 in 2005, there were some mixed opinions regarding the price. But do not worry, we will come back to that. Sony did, however, release some gems of a game that would later turn into a popular HBO show. So let's go down the list of games. First off, we have the main face of the PlayStation 3, Little Big Planet, a beloved puzzle platformer and a community creation of a game, where you run around as a simple sock boy while completing simple objectives. It was cute, it was fun, it was family friendly. Then moving on, we have a more action-based game where we got Uncharted, a critically acclaimed action-adventure series created by Naughty Dog, the same people who made Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter. A cover-based shooter about a professional treasure hunter who solves historical mysteries. Then we got The Last of Us, another critically acclaimed game with many remasters and a whole TV show to support it. Last of Us is a game about a guy in an infected world smuggling a possible cure to the Firefly clan. And yes, I wanted to be as vague as possible. And now with the main games out the way, we need to boot ourselves over to what made the PlayStation 3 a great console. First, we got the simplicity of the home screen. With everything categorized to a simple left and right fashion, it made finding what you need in a breeze. Next, I had a Blu-ray player, which at the time was a must-have for many movie enjoyers. For context, Blu-ray was a higher audio and video quality rate. At the time, DVD displayed 480p, while Blu-ray did 1080p. That's a big jump. Then if you were a gamer, you had free online access, so no paying that monthly or yearly fee to play with your friends. But the drawbacks was you did have less features than the competitor. One of the last great things about the PlayStation 3 was the battery life for the controller. These controllers felt like they had weeks worth of battery life, compared to the Xbox where you're changing out the back of your battery every, say, day or so. Now let's move on to what was terrible about the PlayStation 3. First off is the most obvious to people who were around the launch. The initial launch price was crazy, starting at $500 USD for the 20GB and $600 USD for the 60GB model. This would be a $200 price hike than the Xbox's price. Second, we had the 2014 Lizard Squad hack. The hack that was on Christmas took PSN services down for 2 whole weeks while thousands of people's data got stolen. Next, you know how we have the Xbox's Red Ring of Death? Well, the PlayStation had something a little different. With the original fat PS3, we had an issue with the DVD players just going out on us. Finally, we have the PlayStation Move, a device that was supposed to compete with Xbox's Kinect, but more felt like an off-brand version of the Nintendo Wii. Now, that was all the info I compiled for the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Did I miss anything important? Let me know in the comments below. But now we move on to the most important question. Who won that console war? Well, let's do some quick rehash. Starting off with the gaming aspects. Xbox had games that were more memorable and replayable than the PlayStation, with the added fact of Xbox having backwards compatibility for the generation of that console. Xbox also had a better live service experience with a party chat, but PlayStation didn't have to pay for the live service price. So Xbox is getting 2 points in the gaming while PlayStation gets 1. And no, I'm not adding the Kinect or PS Move since I don't really have enough knowledge on them to make that opinion. Then we got what did the console offer. Xbox? It was cheaper in the initial price. PlayStation didn't get the red ring of death though. But the Xbox had some animated avatars, and they had easily changeable hard drives. So that's 3 more points for Xbox and 1 more for PlayStation. So the winner for this console wars was the Xbox 360. And before PlayStation 3 fans get on to me about saying that I'm biased to the Xbox 360, all I'm gonna tell you is this. I grew up with the PlayStation 3 and it is still my personal favorite console of choice. I didn't want to have to bash on it, but it kinda had to happen. Do you still agree with me? Let me know in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on the next set of console wars, which will be the Xbox One and the PS4. Just don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.